Preseason college football playoff predictions. This day is always fun. This day is always fun because you either ruffle someone's feathers or you give someone just insane amount of hope. And I just love the happy medium between there because, just college football fandoms, college football fans in general are amazing, and I love you guys. But before we get into the video today, if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment too. I want to hear your thoughts on my picks here because in December, we'll go back to this video here and be like, hey, maybe we were like 50%. That was kind of close. But get into the video today. Go ahead and throw the bracket up right now. These are the teams that we have. Starting off with number 1, Georgia. I'm really high on this Georgia team this year, and the sole reason is their quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. I love this kid. I think he's a Heisman caliber kind of guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he did win the Heisman. And he's one of those guys. He's scrappy. He commands the offense. Are his throws perfect all the time? No, not by any means. Does he need to change the way he plays to win a national championship? No, I don't think he needs to change the way he plays. I just think he needs to be more consistent. Just get the ball out and run the ball. That's what this Georgia team needs to do. They also have Nate Frazier coming back, a stud running back, and also Drew Bobo at center, who's going to set the standard for that offensive line. So really excited for that Georgia offense. And then looking at the defense, just going to be improved from last year. A lot of young guys playing last year. Don't really know, hey, assignment-wise, thinking instead of playing. A lot more playing instead of thinking this upcoming year for Georgia. So I'm really excited for them, but they're at the one spot, SEC champions. Moving on to number 2, I got the Oregon Ducks as your Big Ten champions. A lot of people are high on this team, and it's warranted because when you look at this team, probably one of the most talented rosters in all of college football, and they also fall under that category. A lot of teams out there do, but they are probably number 1 of, if not now, when. Like if you don't win a national championship now, when are you going to do it? Because this roster is unbelievable. Obviously, they have Dante Moore coming back, which is a huge addition. Should have been an NFL first-round draft pick last year, but decided to stay another year. Davison and Hill at running back, two-headed monster there. You got to love them. Jamari Johnson at tight end. A little bit lower than, like a different play style than Sadiq, but still a traditional tight end, kind of a bigger guy. Still incredibly athletic. And then the skill guys on the outside, DeCorian Moore coming back for year 2, and then Evan Stewart had a great spring as well. And then on the flip side, defensively, probably more impressive than your offense. Your defensive line is probably the best in the entire country. And then also a pretty solid linebacker core. And the secondary is really where you shine as well, with additions of Coy Perch from Minnesota. I really like this Oregon team. I think in the regular season, they're going to be tested. They play at Ohio State, at USC. There's some sneaky good ones in there. But I think this Oregon team is up for the challenge. They're going to make a run in the playoff this upcoming year. And then number 3, Miami Hurricanes, and for the first time ever, Miami is ACC champions. And I got to say, before we get into it a little bit more, early in the offseason, I was a little bit skeptical about this Miami team going into this year. I was like, I don't know about Darian Mensah. I don't know about Cooper Barcade. Like, will that Duke magic transfer over to Miami when they play these Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dames? I thought that was a valid argument there. And I watched clips of them in practice against a very good Miami defense, which I got to say is like on par with the Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame defenses, and they were lighting it up. So not only was I wrong, and I admitted it, we had a video on that. I was wrong. I'm really high on this Miami team this upcoming year, and I think the fact that they will kind of cruise through their schedule, they play a few hard games that are especially towards the latter end of the year, so they're going to be getting hot when they need to be hot, just like last playoff. They went through everyone, A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss, just, were hot when they needed to be hot. I think Miami, catches heat again, and they have a deep run in the playoff. And then 4, I got the runner-up in the SEC championship game. I got Oklahoma. A lot of people don't like Oklahoma this year. A lot of people say they can't run the ball. Oh, no, they're like super hard schedule. What I'd say to that is, okay, well, let's watch the spring game. A lot of explosive plays on the ground. And also, I'd argue that their schedule this year is easier when you compared to last year. And take a look at last year when they did have a harder schedule. They still went 10-2 and made the playoff. And then, yes, they were a first-round exit, but I'd argue that this upcoming year, this upcoming season, this Oklahoma team's better. They brought in portal additions like Parker Livingstone. John Mateer has improved tremendously. You have the whole new throwing motion, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, does it really matter? It's like, well, maybe. You can get the ball out faster. You got more people to throw to than just Statenia. So that's huge. I really hope that run game really gets going. And I saw it in the spring game. Like I said, a lot of explosive plays on the ground. And we know that Brent Venables' defense is going to be great. So I think they win Red River. I think that's going to be a grind. It is a grind of a schedule, like I said, but I think they're capable of going far. They're capable of being that 4 spot. Moving on here, and I won't go as in depth, but at 5, I got Ohio State. They're just a little bit lower just because of how hard their schedule is. I think they may drop a few, be 10-2, 11-1, but losing in the Big Ten championship, kind of setting that fire to make a run in the playoff for Ohio State. Number 6, I got Notre Dame. They're obviously going to make the playoff, right? They got the Notre Dame rule where if they're in the top 12, they make the playoff. They don't really play anyone other than Miami and BYU. When you look at their schedule, you're like, really? So Notre Dame's going to be at that 6th spot. 7, I like Indiana. I still like Kurt Signetti. I'm not super high on Josh Hoover. He still needs to show me a little bit something. There's a lot of that turnover talk there. But I know they got Nick Marsh, who's a stud receiver from Michigan State. But still, it's a Signetti team. His track record the past 2 years have shown consistency of winning. So I like Indiana. Number 8, I like this one a lot. Your Big 12 champion, the BYU Cougars, are sitting at number 8. This is interesting because I think overall, the Big 12, it's nothing crazy, not compared to the Big 10, SEC, but they get scrappy sometimes. And BYU in the regular season, they dodged Texas Tech, the only team they lost to twice last year. So the only time they will play them is in the Big 12 championship. And I think, sitting with that loss for so long after they beat you twice the year before, I think these players are hungry. Kalani Sitake, we went down to Provo this summer. It's something in the building. It's just boiling up. They have faith. I really like this BYU team this upcoming year. Number 9, I got Texas. And Texas is an interesting team to me because there's so much hype around this team. You got, obviously, Arch Manning and how he played in the latter end of the season and against Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl and showed so much promise there. And then the transfers addition with the 2 running backs and Cam Coleman, Colin Simmons running that defense. I think, in general, when you have a team hyped up as much as they are in the preseason, they usually don't pan out incredibly well. But I still have them making the playoff. I think they might lose 1 or 2 here in the regular season, especially early on. I don't think they win that game against Ohio State. I think Ohio State takes that one in week 2. But overall, Texas still has a pretty incredible year, makes the playoff at that 9 spot. And I think this is one of those, there's always a team that is a lower seed, that 8, 9, 10 seed that makes a run. Miami last year, Ohio State the year before that just gets hot at the right time. I think Texas is that team this upcoming year. And then at 10, I got Alabama. And this one was interesting. This one's interesting because I was like, do I put in Bama with the new quarterback? I don't know who it is yet. I really don't know what to expect from this Bama team. But I trust Kalen DeBoer. I really do. And I know a lot of Alabama fans out there, we talked about this, a lot of Alabama fans out there don't love Kalen DeBoer. They're like, how dare he wear a polo or a sweatshirt on the sideline? Like, come on, guys. Let the guy live. He wins you games. Those tight games, Alabama usually comes out on top. So I like Alabama there. 11, I got USC. Lincoln Riley finally gets it done, makes the playoff. Now, USC, this is an interesting team. I've always said this, or been saying this. USC is probably the most intriguing team to me this upcoming year. And they also fall into that category, if not now, when. If you don't make the playoff now, when are you going to do it? This is probably Lincoln Riley's most talented team since he's been there. I'm really a big fan of USC, and I think they're going to put up a lot of points. And really the big question with USC is the defense, and that's why they hired Gary Patterson to really raise the ceiling there. And I think they can get it done. I think that Gary Patterson, and just watching the clips in the spring, and they just started fall camp, and I've been seeing some stuff trickling out. It's a good, I'm feeling really good about this USC team this upcoming year. And at 12, it's such a guessing game with the G6 guy, but I had to go. I went Boise State again. Last year I went Boise State, but new conference, Pac-12 champs, Boise State. I've been hearing good things about them. Madsen, the quarterback for them, coming back for another year, hopefully to get it done. I think they're going to be the Pac-12 champs, and just to say Pac-12 champs and to mean it, I love to hear it. But there's the graphic right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the playoff looks like. But to go into it a little bit more depth here and to talk about my upcoming national champion, let's get into it here. First round, Texas versus BYU. I just think Texas overwhelms them. It's going to be at Provo. It's going to be an incredibly hyped scene. I hope to go to that game, but I think Texas overwhelms. There's just too much. It's just a separation of talent there. Texas moves on to play Georgia, and I believe that's going to be in the Peach Bowl because Georgia gets to pick where they get to go. Obviously, why would you not pick home field advantage? Moving on, 12 versus 5, Boise State versus Ohio State. Again, the talent gap there is just going to be too much. Ohio State moves on to play Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Moving on, we have 10 versus 7, a rematch from the Rose Bowl last year, Alabama versus Indiana. I just think the ground and pound of Indiana's offense, and I know Alabama's going to be talented. Like I said, Kalen DeBoer somehow finds a way to win games, but I just don't think it's going to be this game. I just don't think they can, for 4 quarters, keep up with Indiana's just consistent ground and pound. And I think Indiana wins that game pretty convincingly and moves on to play Oregon in the Rose Bowl, which, again, back-to-back Rose Bowl trips. That's pretty cool. And finally, 11 versus 6, USC versus Notre Dame. This one's cinema right here. We put up that Martin Scorsese meme of pure cinema because they're not playing in the regular season anymore. This is probably one of the bigger rivalries in all of college football, up there with Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan. USC Notre Dame's right there. So the fact that they're playing in the playoff and they don't play in the regular season until 2030 now, I believe, that was just announced. So to see them play in the playoff for the first year they don't play, I think it's going to be incredible. But I think Notre Dame, again, just has the more talent, more experience there. And they edge out USC and beat them at home to move on to play Miami in the Cotton Bowl. Now, we're on to the quarterfinals here. Texas versus Georgia. It's going to be so back and forth. Both teams are going to score points, make big plays. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's always that lower seed team, that 8, 9, 10 team that just gets hot at the right time. I think that's Texas this upcoming year and just keeps going. And they beat Georgia basically on the road, Peach Bowl, and win the Peach Bowl to move on to the semis. Moving on, 5 versus 4, Ohio State versus Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. This is going to be a grudge match. It's going to be who wants it more. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth. But the Buckeyes will be victorious. That Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith connection is going to be paramount here, and I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to stop that. And they move on to the Orange Bowl against Texas. It's going to be a great game, a rematch from week 2. Moving on, 7 versus 2, Indiana versus Oregon, a rematch from the Peach Bowl last year. And that was a blowout game as well. In the Rose Bowl, this is going to be an incredible games. And that stadium, wow. I had the honor of playing there twice. It's incredible. But I think Oregon gets it done. I think they finally they remember the pain of last year getting blown out again, and they beat Indiana. Cignetti falls to Oregon, and Oregon moves on to the Sugar Bowl. And then finally, we got 6 versus 3, Notre Dame versus Miami in the Cotton Bowl. Another classic matchup. I think it's going to be ground and pound from Notre Dame. Miami's going to be getting it out to Malachi Toney, Cooper Barcade. I think Darian Mensah is the difference in this game, and Miami gets it done. And Miami defense also gets it done, gets in C.J. Carr's head a little bit, just kind of, hits him early, that kind of deal. And Miami moves on to the Sugar Bowl and plays Oregon. And moving on to the semis, first game here, Texas versus Ohio State. And like I said, they played week 2. So you'll get a little preview, but I don't think you are the same team from where you are in week 2 to where you are in week 14, 15, whatever it is. It's going to be a completely different game. They're going to know each other schematically now. But I still think that hot streak that Texas will have is going to play a factor here, and Arch is going to have a great game. Cam Coleman probably have a great game here. I just don't think those Ohio State corners can keep up with these Texas receivers the entire game, and I think Texas wins and makes a run to the national championship. And on the flip side, you got Oregon versus Miami in the Sugar Bowl. Man, this one was hard because, like I said, a lot of people are high on Oregon. If not now, when? We're so close to making it. This is the time. But I think Miami, they tasted what it means. They tasted success last year. They were so close last year. Mario Cristobal has this team possessed. They are on a mission. And they beat Oregon in the Sugar Bowl. Barely. It's going to be a close game, like last-second field goal kind of deal. Barely beat Oregon and play Texas in the national championship. And my natty pick, Texas versus Miami. What an incredible national championship, by the way. One of those you turn on Monday night and you're like, all right, here we go. Because you don't know who's going to win. It's not going to be like a 7, 8.5 point favorite. These guys are going to be probably 3.5, 2.5 point favorites, someone in there. I'd probably say Texas is the favorite there, but does the Cinderella story for Texas continue? Do they finally bring home a national championship after spending all this money? Arch Manning, do you finally do it? Or does Miami finally get one after going to the national championship last year? Had a historic run last year. Gary Mensah brings in, was he the answer? The question. I think Miami gets it done. I think Miami finally gets it done. I think the fact that they tasted that success last year, got to the national championship, saw what it takes to get there, have that like possessive mindset of, I need it. I need to win. That's why Miami's going to win the entire thing this upcoming year, and I'm really excited for this upcoming season. But college football fans, I appreciate you sticking with me. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, liking the video. Leave a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts, but I appreciate you guys watching. This is Off Script. My name's Zak Herbstreit. I'll see you guys soon.